Hello and welcome to NDTV Profit. You're watching SME IPO Adda, and my guest today is from EMA Partners Limited. It's an executive search firm which is coming into the SME platform. The IPO is opening on Jan 17th, closes on Jan 21st. Price between 117 to 124 rupees per share. The IPO comprises of fresh issue of 66.14 crores and an OFS of 9.87 crores. So a total of 76 crores is the size of the IPO, and because it's an SME, the maximum lot which is allowed for retail is 1,000 shares there. And joining me today is Mr. K. Sudarshan, who is the Regional Chair Asia and Managing Director of EMA Partners India. Sudarshan, thank you very much for joining us on NDTV Profit. Give me a sense of the business that you are in and whether you can be compared to some of the listed players in the main board like a Team Lease or a Quest.
Yeah. So let me just give you just take a step back and give you a quick overview of our business. So we are primarily an executive search business. So that means we operate at the top of the pyramid when it comes to recruiting, where we hire CEOs, board, and CEOs minus one in our business. That is where EMA Partners is. But our overall business, if you look at, we actually look to operate across the pyramid, because we also created businesses which operate at the mid to senior level, which is a new business which we created last year. And we also have, we are continuously investing in a technology business, which is at the, I don't want to call it bottom of the pyramid, but typically the entry to mid level, where you see a lot of applications in terms of technology and AI and so on and so forth.
So it's not a staffing business; it's an executive search business, and which basically means it's much more margin accretive in that sense, and also a low volume business and a very niche one.
Absolutely. You know, the way, okay, let me just describe this for you. So this is, we operated at 24-25% margins, if you look at our earnings profile over the last many years. And that's the nature of this business. Whereas the typical staffing businesses operate at a much lesser margin profile, and which we have seen. I mean, of course, you would know about it. So that is one. And second, the nature is of the business is very different. These are high value, high ticket engagements. And this is at the top of the pyramid. So at this point in time, as we speak, 90% of our business is from leadership hires or leadership hiring. So that's the executive search business.
And do you plan to diversify this business going forward in any fashion?
No, see, for us, there are, in terms of growth opportunities, at the top of the pyramid, again, we have huge growth opportunities given at the pace at which India is growing as a market. And we also have subsidiaries in Dubai, which is the Middle East market, and Singapore. So according to actually our industry, research, and also the studies which has been done and well documented as well, India and the Middle East are actually amongst the hottest growing executive search markets. And so we are there in both these markets. And of course, Singapore, again, is like a regional hub for us. Again, we are present in that market. And and also outside of the executive search business, since our relationships are all driven top down, so there is also huge market opportunity which resides in the middle of the pyramid. So that is where we have established a brand called James Douglas, which we established last year. And that will focus on the mid to senior level hiring segment, and where we also see a market opportunity because there are not too many institutional players in that segment.
You mentioned briefly about your subsidiaries, which is in Singapore and Dubai. How much do they contribute to your overall top line?
70% of our business is from India at this point, and the other 30% comprises, it's distributed between Dubai and Singapore.
Since you are affiliated to EMA Global, what is the kind of arrangement that you have with them, and is there a royalty that you pay them on an annual basis? How much is it?
The way it works is it's pretty simple. So it is EMA Partners International Limited is the global organization of which we are a member firm of EMA Partners International Limited. It's structured as a global partnership, pretty similar to the global accounting firm model in terms of a structure. So there is no royalty which is paid. And as global partners, we are about 37, 38 global partners. So there is a share of expenses. So there is no royalty which is linked to the revenues and so on.
I was going through your financials, Sudarshan. We had financials only till July end, and we are almost completing the financial year because we are in January now. Give us a sense of how the business has been, because April to July number does not give you much of an idea of how the business has been.
See, the numbers continue to be robust in line with what the growth what we showed last year. So the business growth continues to be in line with that. And so, mind you, we are also investing additional resources now in terms of augmenting the team and so on, which will expand our coverage. So we also look at accelerated growth opportunities going forward.
Because between FY23 and 24, you grew at roughly around 34%. Is that the kind of growth rate that you're seeing for FY25 as well?
Yeah, I cannot give you absolute numbers, Sajid.
I'm looking at the growth rate
Yeah,
actually.
you could say that we are actually tracking our growth is in line with what we have grown in the past, or and with additional inputs in terms of coverage. I think we will have a great opportunity to grow faster than what the rest of the market would grow.
Okay, can you give us also a sense of the kind of fee structures that you work on in this thing, because executive search firms have very high fee structures as well, because they look at leadership teams here. So how does the fee
That's
structure
right.
work?
So typically in retained executive search, the fee ranges from about 30% to 33% of annual gross compensation of a selected candidate. So that's how the broad fee structure works. And these are paid in equal installments during the course of the engagement. So that's why,
Okay, when you say once the candidate is selected or during the process?
during the process, once the client commissions the engagement, so there is a third of the fee is paid, the estimated fee. A third of the fee is the second installment is paid when we have a shortlist in place or there is a defined time frame, and the third installment is paid again at the end of 90 days, or when the offer is made, or when the person comes on board, whichever is earlier.
Okay. Give me a sense of the kind of, because this becomes a very services kind of business. What is the kind of annual leadership, acquisitions that you have done in or placed?
No, so can you come again with the question? But
Give me a sense of how many people you have placed on the top, because it's a services business and it depends upon how many how many people you place them or you select them, or they get shortlisted. So what is the kind of numbers that we are seeing in this?
So typically in the executive search business, you would see anywhere between about 110 to 120, 130 people on an annual basis. This is what would get appointed. These are typical CXOs or CXOs minus one in terms of so these are typical leadership roles which we would be fulfilling.
And when you say that you're moving now to mid to senior level as well, will that be an margin dilutive business in some way, or is it going to be at the same margin profile?
It will also have a similar margin profile, and also the volumes will be higher there, because this typically caters to because what happens is we have relationships at the top, right? CXO relationships and boards and CEOs and so on. So our experience says that it's always you could actually filter down, and there are several of our clients. Even if you look at our repeat client percentage, we almost have about 70% of our business is repeat business, right? So we have long-standing relationships with our clients, and these are range from large conglomerates to well-funded startups and so on. So they recruit across the spectrum. So we are looking at an opportunity where we have a vehicle or we have a business which could where we could serve our clients, and our clients love that.
Because it's an SME, I should ask you this question. You know, there is a blip that happened in your top line in FY23 from 57 crores, it came down to 50 odd crores. What was the reason for that?
So actually, post-COVID, we almost grew 100% the next year, immediately post-COVID. So, so that was the 1 year prior to the dip was, and then the market stabilized. So, so there is not, so in terms of, if you just, otherwise, if you look at it over a 5 year period, you will see that our growth has been consistent. So then we actually invested, once we had the growth in place, we actually invested again in terms of our front end fee earners and coverage resources. And then the market stabilized the following year. So that's the reason. So I don't see any other reason why that blip happened. And then once again, the market sort of regained the momentum. We had the resources in place to capitalize on those opportunities. So that's where my strong belief is that once we are able to expand coverage, I mean, if you look at the object of the issue, 1/3 of the resources which we are raising will go towards augmenting our teams and coverage across these markets. So once we are able to do that, you will see we'll be able to sort of grow more consistently, over the next few years.
66 crores, how are you using that money?
Yeah, so a third of it will go towards acquiring high quality coverage teams or leadership teams for us. And the second part, of course, we will look to invest in upgrading some of our IT technology infrastructure. We'll also invest in beefing up the platform for our technology business. And then we have general corporate purposes. We have and potential acquisitions in both at the top end of the spectrum as well as at the mid.
Interesting that you said that a third will be used to acquire teams basically, but that would be an annual cost, operating cost for you, right? In that sense, it's not a one-time cost which is there. So how will you, means are you going to come back to the market every year to finance this cost, or they're going to generate their own revenues?
It's a good question, but we would be able to generate. And of course, we will take a call at that time in terms of looking at what sort of growth opportunities we have in place to see whether we'll come back to the market. But at this time, given that the way our margin profile is, we'll be in a position to generate enough internal resources to fund our growth.
Because from what you have said that you're entering into mid to senior, you are acquiring a lot of talent, which is around 25 odd crores, which you're going to do over the next 2 or 3 years, which is there. It seems that their margins may be under pressure for the next couple of years, because till that business ramps up.
See, the nature of the business is that, I mean, once the team is brought on board, typically the lead times we would give for the teams to start delivering would be anywhere between 6 to 8 months. So while the existing teams, and also with looking at the market growth opportunities which we see, I don't think there will be any major margin dilution, honestly. We should be able to maintain our margin profile.
At 24.5, that would be maintainable?
At 23-24%. That's right.
Okay. Mike, one more question before I wrap up. You said that you're entering into middle and senior category, and that's more of a volume business which is there. So, can you give us an idea of how much, what kind of business we have done already, because this business was started last year?
Right now it's a very small business. We've just built a small team there. And as I said, 90% of our business currently is from executive search, from the top end. And that business is already, in this last couple of quarters, it is ramped up in comparison to the last year. Last year, we did about, to be precise on the numbers, I think it will be in the region of 2.5 crores, but it's very insignificant. But we've seen a significant ramp up of that business, both in India as well as the Middle East.
Do you have exclusivity on some of your clients, or is it a general mandate that clients normally post? Because your largest client accounts for roughly around, if I'm not wrong, 8 to 9% of your revenues.
All our mandates are exclusive. So because that is where we define it as retained executive search. So we take only exclusive engagement. So the client would not engage with any other source if they give a mandate to us.
Hmm. So, and retention has been there. What's the average retention period for the clients?
So typically, we guarantee about 6 months. Most cases is when no, that's a retention guarantee.
Okay,
And that gives me to another important point. If you just look at our management teams, retaining key talent has been our own strength. If you look at leadership team within EMA Partners, you could see that most of our leaders have been with the firm for an average span of 12 to 15 years.
So your biggest competition, let me understand, is not a Quest or a team list, which are staffing firms with 3 to 5% profile margin profile. It's basically global executive search firms.
That's our segment where we operate, and we compete with the global executive search firms. That's right.
So Roshan, it was a pleasure talking to you today. Your IPO is opening on 17th, closes on 21st, price between 117 to 124 rupees per share. It's a 76 crore IPO. Thank you for joining us on SME IPO Adda today.
Thank you. My pleasure, Sajid.